There's nothing more important than to know what's going on with the money that you need and use every day. Welcome to the Freedom Culture. Here at the Freedom Culture, I like to discuss current events in the financial sector, this new digital economy, and also breaking down blockchain technology in the most understandable terms possible. Today, I just want to talk about how important the niche that I make YouTube videos about is right now in this world. We all need money. We all use money. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different stories. But one thing that we all share in common is currency. Everybody is involved when it comes to money. Everybody and everything has something to do with money. The medium exchange for goods, current energy, currency. And right now that currency is changing like never before. And then we have monetary policy, which determines the value of your currency. You're working for something, and what you get in return for your labor, the elected powers that be, determines that value. And right now, a lot of people are feeling the effects. As you can see on TikTok, there's a lot of videos of people struggling.
You know how I know America is struggling? 14 days. Nothing's changed. Everything's good. I got good reviews. Everything's, I'm a handyman, so do yard work, electrical, all sorts of stuff. 14 days. I have not had one single job. Nothing's changed. Everything's good. I'm getting clicks. I'm getting, everything's good. That tells me that Americans are going super broke. They're trying to do things themselves.
It is always something. Every time I put money in my savings account, I have to get it out for something. But my family can't go without food. I can't go without gas. I'm not spending the savings account money on anything that's not a need. So how are you guys saving money? I just do not get it.
Every year I can see an increase in the cost of living, but I see no increase in pay. You work 40 plus hours a week. You take on side jobs like you do Uber, DoorDash, Spark food delivery. You do everything possible to make money. You still cannot make ends meet or get ahead. It's not your fault.
Am I the only one that feels like there's going to be a big economic crash that happens in, the next 6 months? The job numbers don't make a whole lot of sense for a really healthy economy. I know a lot of people are feeling the effects of inflation, what's going on at the grocery store. I know the stock market is really inflated, but it seems like it's very speculative, very AI driven, which I feel like there's probably some form of an AI bubble. Not saying AI is not important. I just don't understand some of the valuations that are put out there. It seems like a lot of stocks are inflated because of buybacks and stuff like that. And fundamentally, I just don't feel like people are actually doing very well. And when the American consumer isn't doing well, there typically leads to a crash.
Nobody's doing great right now. And with the event that has recently taken place at the Jackson Hole event, which is, I don't know what you call it. It's like a gathering where the Federal Reserve determines what to expect. They all get together to figure out a game plan or a direction for the economy. And they use the tool of higher rates to prevent inflation, to lower inflation, and lower rates to prevent a recession. And right now, what has recently taken place at the Jackson Hole event, Jerome Powell signaled that they will be lowering rates, but inflation is still going on. Here's a CNN clip of Fed Chair Jerome Powell hinting possible rate cuts despite higher inflation.
So what exactly did Jerome Powell say?
Well, this is the first time, Wolf, that Jerome Powell has really signaled that a rate cut could be coming. And you see the Dow, you see investors reacting. This is what they wanted to hear. The Dow now in record territory again, up more than 800, or was up just about 800 points, as you saw moments ago. This was Jerome Powell's last speech as Fed chair at this event. So that was important because he is ending his term in May of 2026. But this was a speech that investors were watching very closely for clues about how Jerome Powell sees the economy. He said that tariffs are having an impact on prices, but that there is something unusual or curious going on in the labor market where there is both a lack of supply and demand of workers. And he says that puts the Federal Reserve's dual mandate of price stability and full employment in tension. However, he did say it might be time for a rate cut. Listen to Jerome Powell, what he said just a few minutes ago.
The effects of tariffs on consumer prices are now clearly visible. We expect those effects to accumulate over coming months with high uncertainty about both timing and amounts. The question that matters for monetary policy is whether these price increases are likely to materially raise the risk of an ongoing inflation problem. A reasonable base case is that the effects will be relatively short-lived, a one-time shift in the price level. Of course, one time does not mean all at once. Nonetheless, with policy in restrictive territory, the baseline outlook and the shifting balance of risks may warrant adjusting our policy stance.
They usually lower rates during signs of recession. And it also must be highlighted that this is Fed Chair Jerome Powell's last speech at the Jackson Hole event. This is his last Jackson Hole event before being replaced by whoever Trump nominates. It was at first Scott Bessent, but something happened recently that changed that. Things are changing so fast in this space, but I'm gonna definitely look into that. I find that interesting, this recent change. But whoever the current administration picks is going to do what this current administration wants, which is lower rates. And lower rates is beneficial for assets. And this will cause an asset inflation, which is beneficial for asset owners. We might actually see negative rates this time around. And again, nothing is supporting the US dollar. All of these actions are weakening the currency that you have in your pocket. It's to the point that if you're not chasing tailwinds in the market, you're sinking. A lot of investors are leaving the US dollar and getting into this current market, which is part of the reason why the market is at an all-time high. Along with lower rates on the way, which typically raise the prices of assets in the market will be peaking. But whatever goes up must go down, whatever catalyst that might cause that. We got this AI boom that's not really showing much value. ChatGPT 5 was highly overrated. And to me, it's looking like .com bubble 2.0. Here's a clip of economist Brent Johnson, author of the dollar milkshake theory, speaking of the likelihood of a market correction this September.
Predicting a 2008 style financial crisis. I'm not saying we're going back into the Great Depression. I'm just saying markets don't tend to move in a straight line, and everything is pretty stretched, and I would be surprised if we get through the end of the quarter without having some volatility associated with a resetting of expectations.
We don't know what's going to cause this correction, but if it does indeed happen, what do you think the likely culprits may be when we look back at this?
Well, first of all, I think the reason for the sell-off in April was the uncertainty surrounding tariffs and the impact of tariffs. Now, the uncertainty's kind of gone, but the tariffs are just now hitting. So in other words, we had a huge rally coming out of April because the tariffs were kicked down the road. Many people thought they were just completely eliminated and that when it came time for them to come back, they wouldn't even exist at all. Well, the reality is they're back. They've just been put in place about a week ago, and they're higher than many people expected. So that's one. The other is that we're getting to a point where the Fed may make a pivot. Now, the interesting thing is I think a lot of the reason the market has rallied is the expectation for a Fed pivot. So in some ways, that is already priced in. While inflation is no longer surging the way it was, 18 months ago, it is also not crashing, right? And so I think while Powell may cut rates, I'm actually not expecting him to, but while I admit that he may do it, if he cuts rates, I don't think he will be cutting rates because things are fantastic. My guess is he would have to be cutting rates because he sees something bad.
We got the upcoming market crash along with the risk of recession. A lot of people are having a hard time landing jobs. We got the recent jobs report showed that they overestimated the amount of jobs that will be established. I mean, we got AI, the innovation of AI replacing jobs. That's some of the realities that we just gonna have to consider. We are emerging really fast into the fourth industrial revolution. And the solution is education, to be informed on the new financial system leveraged by technology. This information is not taught in schools. It's new. It's the new financial system. At first, that phrase used to actually sound a little wacky, but now it's being used in mainstream media. As a matter of fact, ever since the Genius Act was signed not too long ago, we officially embraced the new financial system backed by blockchain technology, stable coins, cryptocurrency, tokenization. We got Larry Fink, who has recently became the new chairman of the WEF, who's all about tokenization, who's all about tokenizing all assets. We got the SEC chair with the new innovative to move the whole entire financial system on chain. A lot of people aren't aware of what's going on right now with the digitalization of your currency because it's a new era. So it's important to change that. It's important to get informed, to see how you can benefit and not get left behind and stuck in some type of system that won't be in your favor. Keep up with me on the Freedom Culture. Click the link below, hit my Patreon, subscribe to my Patreon, where I'll give you valid insights that I can't really share too much on here on YouTube. But peace, love, respect. Take care of yourself. I hope you take this message really wisely. And yeah, keep up with me on the Freedom Culture. Peace, love, respect. Later.